Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be doing gameplay from the game Viva Mexico, the Mexican Revolution 1910 to 1920. It is from White Dog Games and is designed by Dave Kershaw. It is a solitaire game, and we will play the first scenario, which is a simple, relatively short scenario to kind of introduce how the game works. And that scenario is called The Fall of the Porfiriato. And basically, we will be playing as the rebels and the against the government. And the government has a very, very limited ability to do stuff in this particular scenario. So this should be fairly straightforward and hopefully a good example of how to play the game. And then we can move on to scenario two, and which becomes a little bit more challenging. You can link the scenarios together. There are 4 in total. And you can put them together and basically move from one to the next. There are bridging notes that explain what you need to do to move from one to the next. You can also start at any one of them and play just that one, or you could start at 2 and play through the end, or 3 and play 3 and 4, etc., etc. So you have a lot of options with this game. So here we have our handy dandy play aid sheet, and you can see right up here we have our turn order, which shows player move phase, player reinforce phase, etc. So our first step is player move phase. General in a town, general in the countryside. So your options are, if you're in a town, you can do nothing, move to the countryside, and initiate combat if an enemy is present. If there is no enemy in countryside, move to a town and initiate combat, or move to another region. Similar in the countryside, do nothing, initiate combat. If an enemy is present, you can move to another region. And if there is no enemy in the countryside, you can move to a town and possibly initiate combat if the enemy is present. So looking at our map up here, so let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so this is the very top of the map, and you can see, here's Ciudad Juarez up here. It does have a government troops in there. They are recruits. We have some generals here, one for each. So one actually, they're both in Chihuahua, right? So this is the city of Chihuahua, and this is the province of Chihuahua. And you have Orozco here, or the countryside, I guess I should say. And Gonzales over here. You have some recruits here, and there's a recruit in both cities. There's also Rurales here out in the countryside. Okay, so I think up here we will avoid doing any combat, because what we need to do is get to the player reinforcement phase. Now, to win this scenario, I should have mentioned this, we win if both of the following conditions are met. A town in Chihuahua is captured by a rebel force. There is a rebel general and or unit in 3 other regions. So right now, the only region that has generals in it is Chihuahua. So what I could do is say move, say, Gonzales or Orozco. We could move either one. But let's say we choose to move Gonzales. We can move him to, say, another region. So we can move him to, the red line here means we can't cross into Sinaloa because of the mountains. We could go to Sonora, Coahuila, or Durango. Those are our options. So let's say that because there are no government forces in Durango, let's go to Durango. Okay. Now, once we've done that, these are our only 2 units that are on here. So we're just going to say that that's the end of the player move phase. Oh, wait a minute. I can't do that, actually. Hang on. Moving to another region, rail movement or non-rail movement. Move to the countryside of an adjacent region. If there is enemy in the countryside, combat cannot be initiated with non-rail movement. So this is the rail line. We're not using rail movement, so we're just going to move to Durango. Okay, and then we come to the player reinforcement phase right here. And you have 2 reinforcement points. Rebel forces must be placed on a friendly force. Cavalry in Chihuahua or Sonora equals 1 point. Cavalry in another region, 2 points. Peasant must be in the countryside, 1 point. Worker must be in town, 1 point. And then you have government forces as well. Okay, so cavalry, cavalry, which is this guy right here, as long as it is placed in Chihuahua or Sonora, it's only 1 point. So we're going to put it here with Orozco in Chihuahua. And then we're going to put a peasant unit, which has to go in the countryside. We'll put the peasant unit with Gonzalez. So here's the peasant unit. We'll put him with Gonzalez. Then we go to the non-player move phase, but the government has no generals, so therefore they cannot move. That's one of the things that keeps the game pretty simple. Because there are no government generals, you may skip the non-player move phase. So then the next phase is the draw phase. So here you see we have the phases here. So we did player move, player reinforced, the non-player move was skipped, and then we go to the draw phase. Now if we flip this over to the draw phase, you can see here, let me make sure you can read it all. Friendly asset unit placed with general of choice, enemy asset unit placed with enemy generals with highest initiative. Friendly general may go to countryside or a town without enemy, or a town without friendly general. All right, so we're going to draw out of the cup. So I'll put the appropriate markers in the cup, and we get the Magon brothers. And as far as placement, so with generals, you have to roll a die to place it. So I'm going to put this here so we can see the roll. I'm going to roll, I took out a green die and a red die. So I'm going to roll, I guess I'll roll the green die. And we got a 6. Now, these guys are urban. So with a die roll of 6, urban goes to Bajío, which is right here. So we're going to put him in San Luis Potosi. It is right here. Okay? So after that, we go to the non-player reinforcement phase. So the non-player is the government side, and they are limited to 4 conscripts. And they get 2 points for placing them. And according to here, government forces, conscript in any town free from enemy is 1 point. And we're not allowed to build rurales. So you can see here, first reinforcement, conscript in unoccupied town in same region as enemy. So that would probably be Durango. So we'll put a government recruit there. Or I'm sorry, conscript. And we'll put him in Durango. And the second one, conscript on general with most units. If no general, conscript on nearest unoccupied town connected by rail to region with rebels. Okay, so our rebels are in Durango and Chihuahua, and connected by rail. So Chihuahua is connected to Coahuila, which is here. So we have a couple of choices. I think the closest, let me slide the map a little bit. So here we have rebel forces here and here. Now we have a force here. We could put it here in Saltillo. So we'll do that. They get a conscript as well. And that ends that turn, or that phase rather. And then we go to the end phase, and neutral units / generals attack. That's a neutral. They're neutral, I believe, but they don't have any forces. Roll for exile and prison boxes, and then next turn. So as we have nobody in the exile box or prison box, we don't have to roll. We're going to move on to turn 2. So I'm going to slide this over to turn 2. And we will start turn 2 with our general in the countryside up here in Chihuahua. We're going to attack Chihuahua with our with Orozco and our cavalry unit. So they'll be attacking the recruits there in Chihuahua. And so you're going to see combat here. So here's our combat procedure from the player aid. You can see that assets go first. We don't have any assets. So we don't have any artillery. We don't have a machine gun. And then other forces hit in initiative order. Force in town gets +1 initiative. Defenders go first in a draw. So total strength of units, attack strength for attacker. Defender uses either town or countryside defense strength. Add 1 for general. So they have a general, and their combat strength is So you can see they have an attack rating of 3. Hopefully you can see that. Their attack rating is a 1. But attack strength for the attacker only. So it's 3 versus 2 because the very bottom one is your defense rating. No, I'm sorry, the middle one, but they're both the same. They're both 2s. So the white 2 here. So you've got attack at the top in the red box, the defend in a town in the white box, which is a 2 in this case, and a countryside is green and also 2. So it's 3, 2 basic, but we add 1 for Orozco, which gives them 4. Okay, so we're going to roll. So the rebels get initiative. So you go here, assets go first, then other forces hit in initiative order. We use the total strength. We roll d6 per 5 strength or the part thereof, so that's 1. So we'll roll that, and we got a 1. A roll equal or less than strength inflicts the rolled number of hits. Greater than or 6 is a miss. So they rolled a 1, that's 1 hit. Then we're going to roll for the defender, who has a rating of 2. And he also rolls a 1, which is also 1 hit. So I'm so used to like simultaneous damage that in this case, since they got a hit, it eliminates this unit before they can attack. That is actually in the rules right here. Forces with a higher initiative will hit first and have the effect of their hits applied to the enemy before their force hits. So the recruits have been eliminated and they get to move into the town. So they have now achieved the first of the 2 objectives. The other ones will be having a presence in 2 other areas. So we have a general here in Durango. So we already have 2. Whoops, hit that with my leg. So that actually ends that move. Now we can do something with Durango here, which is Gonzales. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move these guys into Sinaloa, and then they can actually move into the town of Mazatlan it really doesn't matter, I guess, as long as they are in, according to the victory conditions, as long as they are in a region. There is a rebel general and or unit in 3 other regions. So we need to get 2 more regions. And we will be coming to the draw phase here in a moment. But we have to do our reinforcement first. So player reinforcement for rebel forces, we have to place on a friendly force. So let's put, and I think we would let's leave him outside the town. And we'll leave Gonzales outside the town. Since we only have two generals currently, we will recruit another cavalry because they're pretty strong units to put here with Orozco there, and we will recruit another peasant for Gonzales here. Put that there. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. So now you can see, well, I guess you can't see. Let me adjust here. The strategy here is pretty clear in my opinion, right? If we move Gonzales and his unit to Nayarit, right? And then Gonzales can then from there move to Jalisco. That would be 1, 2, 3 other areas, and that would therefore, or we can also move our unit that's up in Chihuahua. We can move them down to Durango as well, and that would also help us satisfy the 3 other provinces. So basically, this scenario is just really showing you how the game works. One thing I did not mention is when you move forces that are in a region that has enemy forces, which was true in both Durango and Chihuahua, you go by initiative order. And Orozco's initiative is a 3, while Gonzales is a 1. It's that number in the upper left. So therefore, we did that correctly. We did play Orozco first and then Gonzales. So from there, we would move to our non-player move phase, which again, we can skip because they have no generals. And we come to the draw phase. So I'll grab my cup again. I'm not looking. And then I pull something out. And we get a another rebel general, Zapata. And so for Zapata, we're going to put Zapata, since we can place him according to the rules here for the draw phase. A friendly general may go to countryside or a town without enemy, or a town without friendly general. Well, we have a town right here without an enemy, or countryside too, but we'll put him in Tepic here. And we now have two regions that do not have, we have our town in Chihuahua and two regions. And so now we would go to the non-player reinforce phase. So the non-player again is government. So we're going to place a conscript in a region with both government and enemy forces, place in a town. We don't have any where that is the case. So then we would go to government forces in countryside, ruralis in countryside. We're not allowed to do that. Or conscript on general with least units. So we don't have any. Yeah, I'm not really sure where to place this one. I think we're going to put him here. And then it says there is no second reinforcement, but it mentions ruralis, and I'm not sure if that's actually going to be pertinent here. But since this is more of a learning game, and I'm sure somebody will correct me, I'm just going to stop with the one reinforcement anyway, and we will move on to the end phase, neutral units / generals attack. Well, we do have a neutral unit here, but they don't have anybody to attack. And I'm not sure if these guys count. Magan brothers are neutral. You can see here in our setup notes. Magan brothers, neutral. They start in the cup where we drew them out from. And then you can see all the other setups there. So neutral does not count for us. But now we're in the move phase. So let's make it real simple. If we're both in general in the countryside, we can do nothing or optionally initiate combat if we want to, or we can move to another region. I'm not sure if I want to do any more combat up in Chihuahua. So here you can see we've got Orozco. He's first in terms of initiative for us, and then Zapata is second. But Zapata is going to do nothing because he's sitting in Nayarit. Well, let's move him here to Sonora, and that actually will it ends the instant the following conditions are both met. A town in Chihuahua is captured by a rebel force, and there is a rebel general and or unit in 3 other regions. We have Sonora, we have Sinaloa, and you can see the tip here of Nayarit. That's where Zapata is, so that's 1, 2, 3, plus Chihuahua is 4. We have won the scenario. So now what you can do here is actually here in the rule book, you have your transition to scenario 2 background, and it's very cool because they give you the history behind this stuff. So you can read what actually happened, right? President Diaz was exiled after a transitionary president, Madero, was fairly elected president. However, Madero alienated friends who had expected either land reform, Zapata, or positions of influence, Orozco and the Vasquez Gomez brothers, while keeping the federal army and its brutal generals intact. Orozco was hoping to get Minister of War in the new Madero government. Instead, that went to Salas, an establishment crony of Madero. Zapata drew up his plan of Ayala. At this point, after becoming frustrated with Madero, and to be fair, Madero did little to stop constant attacks on the Zapatistas. This plan named Orozco as chief of the revolution, and then mostly complained about Madero. So we're going to transition. Our victory conditions. We won in turn 2 or 3, so we get 2 victory points. And then for transition, here's what we're going to do. We're going to perform the following points in order to transition the forces in the game, ready for the next stage of the Mexican Revolution. So I'm going to actually do all of this as part of the transition to part 2. And in part 2, we will move into scenario 2, and the government will have its own forces and generals, and things will be a little bit more interesting. But I think this was a good introduction to the mechanics of the game. So you get the basics, right? We had one combat, we had recruitment and the draw cup and all that stuff. So you got at least an exposure to how some of the basic parts of the game work. In this one, obviously, we'll have some people in the exile box, prison. We may end up with someone in the dead box, and a little bit more involved there with combat and so on and so forth, and probably more of the map will be in play as well. So that will do it for this one. It's relatively short. Hopefully you found it useful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know, and I will do my best to reply. But for now, that's it. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. That would be much appreciated, but I will see you in a bit. For now, I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered, and until next time, as always, happy gaming.